Kyle Richards breaks down about Mauricio Umansky moving out. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills' Kyle Richards is opening up about living at home as a single woman during an emotional one-on-one with her estranged husband, Mauricio Umansky. In a video preview of Heartfelt Season 14, Episode 11, the housewife went into tearful detail about life since she and Mauricio announced their split after 27 years of marriage. While Mauricio, founder of the agency luxury real estate brokerage firm, might be living in a world filled with canned soup, more on that in just a sec, Kyle admitted life at home has been quite an adjustment, a notion that caused Kyle to cry mid-conversation. Read a transcript of the former couple's exchange below and watch the video above. Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky talk about his new life in a condo. Kyle: is your condo coming together? Mauricio: yeah, it's pretty together. It's coming, it's as together as I'm gonna get it. My refrigerator has got eggs. You know what I do. I eat a lot of soups, like canned soups. Kyle: canned soups? Mauricio: yeah, just throw them in. Little tomato whatever. The mother of four shakes her head at the idea of Mauricio living on canned soup. Mauricio: how's it living at the house with the girls? Kyle: it's quiet sometimes, you know. You're like in a new place and it feels new and different. And it's like I'm in our home. Mauricio: yeah. Kyle: I'm there with, I'm in a place where everybody was, and it just feels different. Kyle throws her hands in the air when she begins to cry, prompting Mauricio to take her into a hug. He cradles her for a long moment as Kyle wipes the tears from her eyes. Mauricio: come here. Kyle: sorry. Mauricio: it's ok. Mauricio kisses the top of Kyle's head. Kyle Richards breaks down about Mauricio Umansky moving out, a story of heartbreak and new beginnings. The luxurious hills of Beverly Hills were once a home to a dream built on love, mutual respect, shared triumphs, and in the center of it all, a family. Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky, two names that have graced the pages of countless tabloids and made their mark on the world of reality television, had spent the past 27 years of their lives together, building a life that many could only imagine. The couple's relationship was nothing short of iconic, two forces that found each other early in life and grew to become powerful players in their own right. But sometimes, even the most seemingly unbreakable bonds can fracture. In the 14th season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky's journey together took a turn no one expected. The announcement of their split sent shockwaves through the world of reality television, and viewers were left wondering how such a seemingly perfect pair could face such a heartbreaking separation. In an emotional one-on-one featured in Season 14, Episode 11 of RHOBH, Kyle Richards opened up about what life has been like since Mauricio moved out. With tear-filled eyes, she spoke about adjusting to her new life as a single woman, and it became painfully clear just how hard this transition was for her. The conversation was raw, vulnerable, and stripped of all pretense. It was a moment where the walls between reality television and real life came crashing down, leaving viewers not only grieving for Kyle, but also questioning the complexities of love, loss, and moving on. The empty house. The house that had once been the epicenter of their family now felt different. Kyle sat in the vast living room, a space that had been filled with laughter, conversations, and shared memories over the years. The walls, which had witnessed the rise and fall of so many moments, seemed eerily silent. The quietness was overwhelming. As she sat in front of Mauricio, the man who had been her partner in everything, it was hard for her to reconcile the woman she was now with the one she had been before. Kyle and Mauricio's family had always been a fixture in the public eye, from the birthday parties for their daughters to their extravagant vacations and family get-togethers. They had lived a life many envied, a life that appeared perfect in so many ways. But as Kyle spoke about the new normal, It was clear that behind the glamorous facade, the weight of separation had left its mark. "I mean, it's quiet sometimes, you know," Kyle said, her voice trembling slightly as she gazed at Mauricio. "You're like in a new place, and it feels new and different. And it's like I'm in our home." Mauricio, with his usual calm demeanor, nodded in understanding, though it was clear that the conversation had deeply affected him as well. He had moved into a condo, a temporary place that felt foreign to him despite his efforts to make it comfortable. He described it matter-of-factly, almost as if trying to downplay the enormity of the situation. "Yeah, it's pretty together. It's coming, it's as together as I'm gonna get it. I mean, my refrigerator has got eggs. You know what I do. I eat a lot of soups, like canned soups." Kyle shook her head in disbelief, not at the mention of canned soups, though that certainly wasn't the luxurious lifestyle she was used to, but at the realization that the man who had once shared a home with her and their children was now navigating life alone, in a much different way. "Canned soups?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah," Mauricio replied, shrugging his shoulders as though it were no big deal. "Just throw them in. Little tomato whatever." The exchange was so simple, yet it carried a weight far beyond the mention of canned food. It was a stark reminder of how different their lives had become. Kyle wasn't just talking about the physical separation of living in two different places. She was grieving the emotional disconnection that had now become an undeniable reality. The heartache of change. Despite the calm tone of Mauricio's words, it was clear that this wasn't an easy transition for him either. They had both invested so much into their relationship and their family, and now they were left to navigate the unknowns of life apart. The conversation continued, and the emotional toll became more evident. Mauricio, ever the protector, turned the focus to Kyle's well-being, asking, "How's it living at the house with the girls?" He knew how difficult it must have been for her, not just because of their split, but because the entire family dynamic had shifted. Kyle took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She had been holding it together for so long, but this moment, this conversation, was one she couldn't keep under wraps any longer. "I mean, it's quiet sometimes," she repeated. "But, you're in a new place, and it feels new and different. And it's like I'm in our home." Her words seemed to break through the veneer of composure she had been holding on to. The weight of the words "our home" hung heavily in the air. This house was supposed to be their home, where they had built a life together. The home that had been a foundation for their children's memories, for all the milestones and celebrations. It wasn't just a structure of walls and windows, it was the embodiment of everything they had created. The tears came suddenly, catching Kyle by surprise. She covered her face, her hands trembling as the emotions overwhelmed her. The space that had once been filled with love now felt like a cavernous echo of everything that had changed. Kyle wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself, but the vulnerability was palpable. Mauricio, sensing her distress, immediately closed the distance between them, pulling her into an embrace. "Come here," he said softly, cradling her head against his chest. Kyle allowed herself to lean into him, sobbing quietly, letting the years of emotional strain finally pour out. She had spent so much time trying to keep everything together, keeping her family, her career, and her public image intact. But in this moment, there was no escaping the depth of her pain. This wasn't just about a split from her husband. This was about the loss of the life she had known, the life she had fought so hard to build. Mauricio held her close, a silent understanding passing between them. "It's Oak," he whispered, as though those two words could somehow make everything right again. For a long moment, they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, sharing a grief neither of them could fully articulate. There were no easy answers, no solutions to fix what had been broken. But in that fleeting embrace, there was a quiet acknowledgement of the shared history between them, a recognition that, despite the pain, they would always have that. Even if their future was uncertain, The love and respect that had sustained their relationship for nearly 3 decades would never disappear completely. As they pulled away from each other, the silence in the room felt different. It wasn't the heavy silence of isolation. It was the kind of silence that comes after an emotional release. It wasn't the end, but the beginning of a new chapter. Kyle looked up at Mauricio, and though the tears were still fresh on her face, there was a sense of quiet strength in her eyes. "Sorry," she murmured, her voice shaky but sincere. Mauricio smiled gently, kissing the top of her head. "It's ok.